More people, more families are homeless in Atlanta because of the pandemic, significantly more. The Gateway Homeless Center says since last year, there's been a nearly 30% increase in the number of people forced out on the streets. Bill List, together with photojournalist Stephen Boise, has an in-depth look at what's being done to help.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, volunteer organizations keeping count of the unsheltered homeless in downtown Atlanta say their numbers have swelled to more than 1,000. Organizations like Gateway Center started a massive testing program, the first of its kind in the country. And with its partners, they found a downtown hotel to house people who tested positive and a second one for the general unsheltered population. The organizations say they took hundreds of homeless off the streets. And now, with more than $18 million in public funding, they're in need of more available and accessible space.
We have a chance to literally put hundreds of people in units that are on the streets.
But the president of Gateway, Raphael Holloway, says there's still a major obstacle.
But we really need the apartment community to work with us to accept these types of programs on their properties. We are experiencing a lot of renter bias. There are some individuals and companies that do not want to lease to people who are formerly homeless.
The chairman of Gateway, Jack Harden, says that with major funding now available, they've come up with a strategy.
So we're reaching out to a larger network of landlords, utilizing our existing relationships and seeking to expand those. We're also using a strategy called rapid rehousing, in which we put people in apartments and subsidize the rent. And then over time, we will move them from the rapid rehousing units into vouchered units.
How long have you been out here?
Long enough, long time.
An important key to getting the unsheltered off the streets is an intensive effort to make personal contact and conduct one-on-one evaluations. The latest approach is coming from MARTA. It's a program called MARTA Hope, and it was launched in August. The head of MARTA Customer Service, Rhonda Allen, says that since the program began, it's already been successful with more than 50 homeless passengers. MARTA and Hope Atlanta teams meet with the homeless along MARTA's train and bus routes.
And we find that people would seek refuge on a MARTA train or a MARTA bus or a MARTA bench at a bus stop because they, feel they can kind of blend in perhaps, or they maybe have no other, nowhere else to go. Sometimes it takes multiple engagements to build trust with some of the individuals and to let them know that there are resources available to them. So the intent, though, is to really connect them with the other social services or temporary or permanent housing.
Combined with MARTA's new initiative are aggressive efforts on downtown streets. Leading one intensive downtown outreach effort to engage and re-engage unsheltered homeless with services that they vitally need is Tammy Hughes of Central Atlanta Progress.
We are out engaging, and we have a number of cell phones that we allow access and allow our homeless citizens to connect with their case managers or their therapists. We have a tablet to do those virtual telemedicine meetings and appointments.
With individual counseling continuing round the clock, both on the ground and on MARTA, and with significant additional funding, the golden ring is still additional and accessible housing. Jack Harden predicts that 800 unsheltered homeless will be in housing by year end, with another 1,200 in housing by the end of next year.
Important and encouraging to see some solutions there, Aisha, because we've covered extensively unemployment, people losing their jobs, eviction, and that's where it can lead, and we're heading into cold months now.
And that really just makes me so proud to be a part of the 11 Alive team, to take the time to tell a story like that in depth, to highlight efforts that a lot of us didn't even know were available to people in the community. Those are really, really special people that have a heart for the community to even do that type of work. So we wish them the best in that 800 and the 1,200 next year, and we'll keep following up.